1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're gonna go to the underside of the 6th rib, come straight across, and then follow that same line all the way out. Cut across there, the brisket, and then finish it out on the chuck. I'm gonna make sure that everything is cut all the way through so it's clean. On boneless chucks, we're gonna look for this piece right here. So right where that meat comes in, so this is where the brisket is, and that's where the flap meat or that lifter comes on the shoulder. So you're gonna cut right through there and follow this seam down, and then come on the inside right here of that brisket and the inside of the elbow. And then that's where I'm gonna put my hook, is on that piece of lifter, which will open that seam. So I'll cut until right here on this cartilage. As I'm pulling this open, I'm gonna use that cartilage piece as a guide to cut across. And then I'll finish cutting down right by the elbow. So there's a natural seam that I'm cutting across right inside of there. You'll cut up right until you see that fat dip in right there. And then you'll cut right down that fat seam. And then I like to hook my hook right here in that tendon piece. And then that's what holds that front shoulder. So the next cut, you're gonna look right where that meat is again. So you can see right in there. So where the fat is. And then right where that is, that's where the knife goes. And then make a line straight down and out the bottom that separates the chuck from the brisket. So we need trim tubs. So 44 pounds in the trim. So this is the chuck piece. It'll be a chuck roll. We'll bone it out. So next cut off is going to be the brisket. So we're going to trace right down along these ribs, or along the sternum piece, and then we can pull the brisket off from here, and then it'll peel out following that seam line off of the brisket ribs. Then the dino ribs come off. You can see the cartilage piece that goes right through here. So you just put your knife right on there, cut through that cartilage. Those will come off. You want to try and keep them square The rest of the sternum we'll just cut off with the saw. Okay, so next we've got our outside skirt, which is this piece right here. There's the outside skirt piece off. And then I'll take off the kidney fat. Be careful when you scoop around the back, you don't cut into the fillet. And take that all off as one chuck. And then count 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You need to go on the bottom of that rib so it makes the rib section up against here and up down that one. Follow that rib out. And you'll cut this one in and then level it off. So that way this cut right here is going to be square. So next, cutting on here, we're looking for right where that meat comes through, right here. So we're gonna cut from there. And then to right here where that tail comes through on that side. Next is the short ribs. They come right through here. We're saving short plate. So from that mark right there, straight across, we'll take the rest of these short ribs off. We'll save the first 4. 2, 3, 4. Cut that shine bone off, and that's prepped for ribeyes. So next we're going to pull the elephant's ear. So we're going to trace just with the tip of our knife, and then that'll peel off really easy. Comes out, that just goes into trim. So next on the flank, we're going to cut right here where this piece comes up on the round, and then go right in front where the tri-tip is, down to where this pin bone is right there, and then straight down. So we'll cut here and pull, which will open up this seam. So, and then this comes around, we want to be cut a little bit shallow because we're right on top of the fillet. And then you look inside, cut right up where that fillet comes down to the pin bone. So we'll exit out where that pin bone comes out on that back side. And then that's our mark to start right here on the pin bone, and then we go straight down. So now we can release all this fat. I like to get as much fat on the flank piece as I can, so that way I can just trim it off really easy. And we'll cut up on the 13th rib. Now all that kidney fat that was left is right here. So all I have to do is peel it back, it comes right off. It'll save me trimming it off the loin later. It cleans up real easy. So next, pulling the fillet off. I'm gonna use this H-bone right there as a judge or a guide. So straight across from where the H-bone is, we'll cut until we can see where the piece of the tenderloin comes up, and we're gonna stop right there on that line of that tenderloin. So when we cut right there, we can feel it drop into the hip, and then we'll cut back onto the H-bone right here, and then ride that seam all the way back. Then when we pull this open, there's a blood vessel right here that you can see. That's what I put my finger in to be able to pull this down. So you'll see there's actually 2 blood vessels. So that artery you can put your finger in, and then you can finish cutting to release this fillet. That way I'm not using my hook and I don't damage the fillet. And as I pull that piece out, I can cut and release the back. And that just peels right out. So now separating short loin. So right here on this first vertebrae after the turn, we'll cut that first to release that so there's not tension. And then right under the H-bone, we're gonna put our knife in so I can feel where it goes right between the finger bone and that H-bone. And then once I feel that, then I'll go all the way through and come straight out. And then I use that line as a guide. So then I cut straight back again, which separates those two. And since I already cut this open, then it'll pop open really easy. Okay, so now the tri-tip. So the tri-tip, you can kind of see where it's at. When it's a fattier beef, then you have to go a little bit more off of muscle memory. So the things you want to look for, if you can't see where this line is, the tri-tip's going to be coming down right from where the knee and the sirloin tip under it is. So you can make a score, and then it's going to go right to where that pin bone is right there on the hip. And then it'll come slightly at an angle toward the front, right where you took off that fillet. And then you can mark the inside, and then I'll grab my hook. If it's really fatty, this is where you'll start to cut really slow and peel to make sure you get under the head on that tri-tip and look for that seam. So as you cut across, you'll be able to see this seam separate. So this is off of the knuckle right there. And then this comes up and around. And that continues until it gets to the pin bone right there. And I'll come around the corner to release that piece out. And then I'm just cutting just a little bit to make sure I don't cut too deep or too hard. because this is all top sirloin, so I don't want to cut into that. That tri-tip will just peel right out of that spot. That way you've got good lines all the way around and you didn't stab it anywhere. So now this opens up the knuckle. I'll trim this a little bit so I can see my line a little better. So I've got the sirloin tip or the knuckle right here, and then the inside round right here. And right where this little valley is, that's where I'm gonna cut. So from the knee, straight down into where that H-bone is. So into the knee, I'm gonna cut hard and ride the femur all the way straight through into there. I can feel my knife along that bone the whole time. So now I'll cut up above the knee, and now I can kind of see where this seam is that goes here. So it's gonna be from the dip on the knee right here, straight to where I made that point on the tri-tip coming off. So that's gonna be a straight line. And then I can start peeling this down from up here. And then right here I've got the kneecap, so I can put my hook right behind the patella right there, and that way it won't slip out. Then I want to make sure when I'm pulling the knuckle off, I do a prep line hard against the femur bone to get behind that bone skin. And then as I pull this off, the rest of that bone skin will stay attached. And then I'll cut in here, being careful not to cut into the top sirloin. And then peel off that knuckle piece. So my prep line that I did right here to release this joint when I took the fillet off, that opens this up so I know where to cut to take off the top sirloin. So now I'm gonna have my knife just straight through here, and then I'm gonna go just level with the ground as it hangs and make a straight line right there. So I use that as a guide. I can cut up against the arch right here in the H-bone, and I'm only cutting with my knife about that far because it'll go in and then it dips back down. So I don't want to cut too far in. Then there's a little piece of fat right here that I can put my hook in and peel this down. And now that I've got that open, I can change the angle on the inside, come all the way down and out the bottom of the hip. So now that I've got that prep line done, now I'll do this back side to release it from here. So once I've got that one cut, now I can just connect my two lines. Whoa. Try that again. So once I have that cut, now I can connect my two lines. And then the next, I'm going to take off the oyster or the spider steak from the inside of the H bone. So that opens up this arch on the H bone, and this joint's opened up. So those are the next two items that I need open to be able to take off this H bone. So from here, I'm going to do my first cut line just about an inch deep with my knife right across the front of this ridge. I don't want to go all the way in here yet until I open this front piece first. So from this point, straight across and out the bottom, then I'm going to put my hook in on this top arch, and then I'll cut a little deeper with a lot of pressure to drop that open. Then I'll start releasing from this back just a ½ inch at a time until I find the pin bone, which sits right there. So that pin bone rises up and then it drops back down. So now that I found the pin bone, I can cut right around the top of it. And then ride back down the inside of that H to pull this pin bone out. So at those prep lines, now everything can come open without having to cut into that rump or the bottom flat. So next we're going to take off the inside round on this one. A lot of times the seam will be open right here so you can see where that guide goes, and then it comes up and around. If you can't see that, then you can start with an arch cut just from where the top of this femur is up and around right here, which I'll do. And that'll help you find the bottom of the inside round. So once I peel this back, now I can see where that line would be if I couldn't see that already. And then I can make a score that goes straight down to separate the eye of the round from the inside round. And then I can peel the inside round down. So I'm not cutting very hard, I'm more peeling and then letting my knife separate those fibers. So next to be the eye of the round. So now the eye of the round arches up here and then just comes down, and right at the end it tucks up in. So I can start here. I'll do my score line again and then around the top. And then that's where I'm gonna grab the eye just on this little trim piece with my hook. Then that eye will peel right out where it sits against the bottom flat. So now the bottom flat is the only thing left. So this one you trace right here. And then I like to come on the inside to catch all of this fat. There's a big triangle of fat right here. So once I make those score lines, then it's easy just to cut off again. There's the bottom flat coming off. And then this heel piece, just right where that tendon stops, you can cut straight in until you see that hind shank. You can cut off this heel. And that leaves just the hind shank and the femur. And we're pulling femurs. You can cut just straight across. And we can save that femur. And then hind shank is done as well. Okay.